Welcome everyone to the CFO Swinger Watch newsletter's technical analysis video for the week of April 8th through 12th. With that, let's start off with the markets. So as you guys can clearly see by now, this is going to be a pretty short technical analysis video, and for reasons why I have put in the newsletter itself, so make sure you guys read that first before you watch this video. So the S&P 500 or SPY right here had pretty interesting reactions to the Fed members speaking on Thursday and the jobs or hiring data on Friday. Now, based on pure price action and trends, we had a very bearish engulfing candlestick forming on Thursday, which ultimately broke the current uptrend to the downside. But then on Friday, with that jobs or hiring data, we saw the price coming back up and ultimately retesting and reclaiming and then closing on top of my daily 21 SMA. However, simultaneously, we saw the price rejecting from my daily 10 SMA. So that means now the price is getting stuck in between the ever tightening area or range between the daily 10 and the daily 21 SMA. Now, mind you, the daily 10 has closed at $519.79, while the 21 SMA has closed at $517.36. All right, so $519.79 for the 10 and $517.36 for the 21. So we're kind of in this wishy-washy area where the bulls can either hold the trend here and hold the line and defend this current uptrend, or bears can come in with more conviction and break this current uptrend to the downside definitively. So now here are some very clear daily levels that you guys should have on your S&P 500 charts. So first of all, we have our 517.30-ish resistance level. Well, currently it's a support level since we have closed over it on Friday. And then right below that, we have our 509.80-ish support level. Now, for both of these numbers, you guys can either round up or round down. Specifically, 517 can be rounded down to, again, 517. Or this 509.80 can be rounded up to 510. All right, it's only a few cents difference. Not really going to matter as long as you guys understand where the levels are at. So here's what I'm thinking between these two levels. If the price comes back down between these two levels and in this area, this gray area, we can see some sideways happening with lower highs, okay, or lower lows, or even higher highs as well. All right, and the reasons why I say that is that, well, it's going to be sideways price action, just like what we saw right here when we formed this kind of a rectangular shape and we had kind of stopped the momentum to the upside. And so anything can happen if we do get stuck in between this 510 and 517 area. So personally for me, ideally I would want to see lower highs and lower lows so that we can continue to move to the downside. But if we do see this sideways price action, we can also see the daily 50 SMA creeping closer and closer to this 510 support level, and ultimately even retesting with the price on top of this 510 level. So we can be probably seeing a convergence point of the price on top of the 510 level and along with the daily 50 SMA. So that'll be another pivot area for the bulls to try to hold onto and really defend if you really want to see a resurgence back to the upside. Now, below both of my 517 and 510 levels, we also have this 503 level. Now, this 503 level is very, very important because right below it, we have our gap up from late February that we did not fill in. I repeat, we did not fill in. So if we do break below the daily 50 SMA, that will most likely bring a flood of sellers to come back in, and eventually we won't be able to hold this 503 support level for too long. And that will also reintroduce a bunch of sellers to come back in just at this area to fill in this gap up and take out all the buyers who are sitting in this area. So make sure you guys have these 3 specific levels and keep your eye on this gap up. Now, percentage-wise from Friday's close, if you go all the way down, okay, just generally speaking here, and go all the way back down to this gap fill area, that's about a 4% move to the downside. So that's not even a very large move. All right, it's just a literally nearly textbook pullback. Because again, a textbook percentage range for a pullback is from 5 to 10%, as I've been saying for the past couple of weeks. And so, this 4% really isn't the textbook correction that we've been looking for, but it is going to be a pretty significant move. So we should all be ready for it, as we've been since last week. Now, if we do continue to move to the downside, now this is just pure speculation at this point, and if we do fill in this gap here and we continue to move to the downside, we can still have our eyes set on this target of 477.50. This is my major floor that I have not yet raised, because again, even at all-time highs here at 524, and our trace all the way back down here, we're still sitting at nearly a 9% pullback, which is within the range of that textbook 5 to 10% range. So keep your guys' eyes on all these levels and make sure you guys have it on your own SPY daily charts. All right. Now with that, with all this information, on Friday we had some pretty low volume, right? It's because again, we wanted to see bulls coming in with conviction to really just snap back this Thursday's loss and poor performance back to the upside. But we did not see that. Yes, the price action was there, but the volume was not. So what's really interesting about this is that if you take a look at all the inverse ETFs, for example, for the S&P 500, that is SPXS, we saw volume spiking on Friday. And for SPXS, we actually saw a nice, pretty textbook pullback. And we have also reclaimed back over the daily 10 and the daily 21 SMAs on Thursday. And then on Friday, we retested the daily 10 as a new area of support. And we saw some very big volume coming in as well. Yes, it could have been selling, but you cannot dismiss the fact that there could possibly have been some buying coming in as well on Friday, as we saw a textbook pullback back into my short-term SMAs as a retest area. So this is the same case for NASDAQ as well. So the NASDAQ inverse ETF that we look at is SQQQ. So we saw a similar situation here with the volume as well, if it's going to load. And in fact, for SQQQ, we also have a tighter price range day, and for both SQQQ and SPXS, we have a nice inside candlestick that came after a very nice looking bullish engulfing candlestick. So the complete opposite of what we saw on the S&P 500 or even on NASDAQ. So this is something that you guys should be wary of, because not just because of the fact that we have an increase in volume, but the fact that with this increase in volume, there is a possibility that we're seeing more buyers coming in on Friday who are late to the party on Thursday. So they're grabbing this opportunity to start making a larger position on all of these inverse ETFs. All right, so with that, let's take a look at our first and final name for this week, AMD. So AMD is kind of interesting here because it's one of the leading semiconductor names, right? AMD, MU, nvda, right? So we saw nvda and AMD just absolutely rocketing to the downside on Thursday, and we saw the semiconductor sector starting to actually lose its relative strength. And so it really makes you wonder if the semi leaders are about to fall more. And that's the reason why I want to look at this specific name this week, because there is a very good actionable swing trade idea here. First of all, I want to take a look at our entries. So if we do decide to have a small bounce again tomorrow on Monday, we can see a nice retest of this 175 previous support level, now new resistance level, and then reject off of it, giving us our first earlier entry point at 175. So we need to see a rejection at 175, and also I would love to see the daily 10 SMA, which is now curling down, coinciding with this retest at 175 and further assisting sellers to come back in with more volume and giving that confirmation signal that yes, this semi leader is now moving to the downside. Now, what's even more convincing, first of all, is that the price is staying below the daily 50 SMA. So the daily 50 SMA has fully caught up to the price, and the price was not able to reclaim over and on top of the daily 50 SMA. And on Thursday, we got that final smackdown by sellers as the price really could not hold at this 182.50 resistance level that also converged with the daily 50 SMA. So short term, long term, this is definitely moving to the downside. And so we want to be in a name, and we want to be in a name that we want to short that is clearly moving to the downside. Now, if you guys want even more confirmation rather than looking for an early rejection entry point at 175, you guys can look for a break at this daily level of 164. This was an area of strong support back in late January to most of February. And so if we're able to really just take out the rest of the sellers that we've buyers that we've already pushed out from Thursday's candlestick from 182.50 to 164, then we can most definitely break below 164 with conviction and start to sell off again. So just as a reiteration here, this Thursday's candlestick was a true panic selling mode where we saw a lot of the buyers who were buying during this sideways accumulation price action from 164 to 182.50 getting kicked out. All right, they were kicked out. I mean, this is a huge move to the downside. And on Thursday, the price ranges that we made on on Friday was not enough to really convince us as traders that the buyers that were in between 164 and 182.50 were coming back. So as long as we see that rejection at 175 and this kind of quote unquote mid-range between 182.50 and 164, I know that's not perfect, but just visually, this mid-range of 175, if we do see a rejection, that means that will basically put the nail in the coffin that the sellers have full control of this name for the short term and to the long term as we continue to stay below and reject below all my short-term 10 and 21 SMAs along with this long-term daily 50 SMA. So 164 will be the confirmed breakout to the downside, or just a more confirmed breakout to the downside, and we can see 151 being tested. All right, so that will be our first ideal price target. Now, this 151 support level is not too strong of a level. So if you go all the way back, we basically use this level as, as a level of brief support. If you guys go back to this area here, back in late 2021 to early 2022, it was used as a level of support here and there, but sellers continued to break below 151 pretty consistently. And we weren't able to really sustain any type of a larger move and a longer term move over 151. And so I would believe that 151 can see a pretty rapid, move back down below this level, and we can continue to move down. Now, longer term and a bit more speculative profit target or price target for AMD for a short to the downside will be the daily 200 SMA. Now, daily 200 SMA is still rising and trying to catch up to the price, and eventually it will catch up to the daily 50 SMA, as the daily 50 will, in the near to midterm future, will start to curl down as well, along with the daily 10 and daily 21 SMAs that are already curling down. And so from a longer term perspective, the daily 200 SMA, which is very sluggish, will eventually catch up. But at some point, it will reach my next level of support, which is based on this price action alone, this price data alone, around, I would say, 142. Okay, right around here. All right, and I would love to see the daily 200 SMA converging right at this 142 level, if and only if we break below 151. All right, so again, just as a reminder, 151 has not been used as a pretty good support level in the past. And so if we do see a lot more sellers coming in, and if we see more selling volume coming in as well, just like what we saw on Thursday of last week, we can definitely break below 151 and eventually retest 142. And on top of that, retest on the daily 200 SMA as well. All right, so that is exactly what we're looking for AMD for a short to midterm and even long-term short swing trades to the downside. All right, so that is it for this video. Make sure you guys smash that like button down below and click the subscribe button as well. But most importantly, turn on your notifications to know when I am live or when I have uploaded a new video. Good night, good luck, and I'll see you all tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for watching.